thank you very much for joining our meeting tonight. I thought I'd share with you, just to give you a bit of a structure to the presentation. So first we will delve into the update on Blashford Tower, major works. I will give you an update on where we are in the pre-construction programme with current activities, the resident engagement preparations and the next steps. And then I will move to the 4 towers, Bray, Burnham, Dorney and Taplow towers, again for the major works update. And I want to focus, just to give you a bit of background and updates on the contractor appointment, the broad programme overview, key activities and priorities, again, resident engagement preparation and next steps. So with regards to the Blashford Tower, as you know, we are in the pre-construction programme, and you will have seen this slide before, and you will see that, this blue line is just moving more and more towards the right as we progress, obviously, in this programme. But just as a quick reminder, the first step was, of course, for John Graham Construction to adopt our REBA Stage 3 designs, which are the designs with intent. Then on, we started carrying out tests and surveys to inform our REBA Stage 4 designs, and those are due to be with us by the end of February, which therefore means once we approve them and are happy with them, John Graham Construction will engage their supply chain and material suppliers, etc., which therefore means that they should be able to provide us a construction contract offer probably towards the end of May, early June, so that we get into contract by July of 2022. And this means that the site setup will begin in the middle of August of 2022, and construction will start in October of 2022. So far we are in programme within the different milestones. Nothing has changed. It's just to give you a bit of detail in terms of what we've done so far, which is the next slides. Just for ease of reference, I've highlighted as well what REBA stages mean. This is really from a Royal Institute of British Architects. They view any project from inception to handover into business as usual when the building has been built into 8 key stages. And we are, with regards to Blashford, we are almost at stage 4, which is the detailed construction design in readiness for the construction phase. So with regards to the tests that have been completed already, we've arranged site visits, surveys, etc. for the site setup, which is likely to be on the Muga, which is this overgrown area just behind the playground to the right of Blashford Tower. Everything is in place with regards to permissions, with regards to traffic management and tree management. We need to cut down, not trees, don't be worried, that's not what we want to do, but just to take down the lower branches to be able that the gantry comes across to the building and that it's not in the way of deliveries, etc. And we've received permission for this. And of course, this needs to happen fairly soon before the nesting season starts. We've carried out site services checks for drains, water supply, power, to make sure that everything that we have in terms of site setup has sufficient and has the relevant services that we require. We've carried out the detailed structural scans that we've done for the 4 towers already. We have carried out a fire safety compliance review with all of our fire strategy and the fire designs and all of the arrangements that we have with regards to the designs to make sure that everything is compliant and as we expect it to be. We have carried out power capacity checks with regards to each of the homes. We've carried out asbestos surveys, detailed roof surveys and tests, window surveys and tests, and the first part of acoustic tests to make sure that what we do will be an improvement over what we have for the moment with regards to the building and noise insulation, etc. So the remaining tests, so these are all the tests that will take place currently and over the next 2 weeks. We will carry out structural tests But there we try and I challenge back, to be honest, I try and make sure that all of these tests, of course, that need to take place do take place, but that they're done with resident consideration to minimize noise and a disruption to our residents at Blashford Tower. We will also test, we've come up for the window corner structure, we've come up with 2 methods to carry out the works. They're quite different, but both could work. So we will be testing those to make sure that we adopt the best solution. And of course, this is what we're going to share with residents. We are also considering, and this is for Blashford Tower only, and I'll come to that in just a little moment to explain further, but we're considering to potentially replace the gas supply for heating with an alternative supply for Blashford. The reason why this is as part of the scope of work with of the major works, which is of course the new building envelope for the building, is the fact that only Blashford has external gas risers, so they're outside on the building structure. For the 4 towers, we have internal gas risers. So there might be an opportunity here to have a less complex cladding system that would sit around these external gas risers. And it might be an advantageous long term to actually convert the heating supply from gas to something else for Blashford Tower. So we're just exploring this, and of course we will keep our residents of Blashford Tower fully up to date. We will carry out a part 2 to the acoustics test. This will be a bit more intrusive, and we will share this with residents. This is where we try and identify how noise travels from one flat to another. And we want to make sure that in terms of the cladding system that we install with the fixings, that we're not inadvertently creating more noise travel. So this is why we do this particular acoustics test. We will also be carrying out a humidity test to make sure that, you know, in terms of passive ventilation, we have everything that we need to prevent damp and mold in properties. And we carry out a air tightness test, again, to make sure that we have a baseline in terms of this is the performance for now, and what we put in place will improve on these different elements. So these are really all key surveys and tests to confirm and inform the detailed design, but also to make sure that we can go back and be absolutely certain that what we've put in place in terms of the new building envelope will improve the well-being in our homes in Blashford. And all of these tests have already been done for the 4 towers. This is what for the 4 towers we have a construction contract, and for Blashford we have a design and build contract. So in terms of resident engagement, the key information for residents, of course, is to see what the finished product will look like and what the options are. So we press on to develop the show flat. We want to make sure that we are really clear and can describe very clearly the journey of the works, how we get from current in each typical home, how we get from current to the outcome in terms of the finished product, what this entails, what it means in terms of disruption level, method of works, etc. And of course, based on that, we're devising a resident offer for our Blashford residents on this occasion, because it's tailored to the level of disruption, etc. And a resident handbook we are preparing as well, so that every resident at Blashford can identify exactly and have all the information about the project that will start in the summer. And we anticipate that all of these elements will be ready by the end of March. So with regards to resident events, we initially intended to have a drop-in session by the end of January. And for 2 reasons, we had to change this. And I apologize for this, but I think it's for the right reasons. The first one is, I just mentioned that we're testing 2 approach to the method of works, and we want to make sure that what we're providing in terms of information to residents is the reliable information. This is what we're going to do and how we approach the works. So it's really important that we get this right, and therefore we it's slightly delayed in terms of providing this information to residents, which would be early February. But also because of the new COVID strain, I approached again public health, making sure that all of our engagement, face-to-face engagement, will always be as safe as possible. And whilst the advice was that what we are putting in place and intend to put in place is absolutely right, but it was recommended that we should wait maybe until the middle of February to engage in drop-in sessions until we're absolutely confident that the peak from the Omicron variant is really tailing off. So this is why we've moved this a little bit further into February rather than end of January. However, we want to engage, we want to have, even if it's informal conversations, so there will be continued individual engagement. And indeed, John Graham Construction, their resident liaison manager, Ibi, together with our team, will be on site and meeting with residents at a time that's convenient to residents, but just as an introduction. And of course, social distancing and masks will be worn. And also by February, we will be having the virtual meeting specifically for our residents at Blashford to keep residents informed, being able to ask questions also in a safe environment, etc. The only thing I would say as well, when it comes to show flats and the information video, etc., this will be made available online for residents, but those residents who may not have access online, we will of course come and visit and show everything. So even for the show flat, if somebody can't go to the show flat themselves, we will take a video of the show flat, like a walking tour, and share with residents who may not be able to see this online. So the next key steps throughout January and February for Blashford is completing, of course, the surveys and the tests, finding resident volunteers for just a few of those tests. For example, the humidity test that I mentioned, it's just a little device that would sit in the corner somewhere in a room for 3 months and just takes the reading of the humidity levels in the flat. So we're reaching out to residents. And also for the acoustics test between two flats, they need to be flats that are one above each other. So we're reaching out to residents to find volunteers where we could install the relevant equipment. The acoustic test, by the way, is only an hour or so. It's nothing long, but it might be noisy, so it might be good for the resident who would be volunteer to go for a walk. Finalizing and agreeing key aspects before getting into the construction phase. As I mentioned, it's of course agreeing the detailed designs, agreeing the method of construction or the method of works that I mentioned we're testing too. The facade access method needs to be agreed as well, because one method may imply a slightly different access to the facade. Site setup needs to be agreed and finalized. The gas supply decision, as I just mentioned, we need to conclude that. And we need to have the design for the resident respite facilities. I reached out to the TRA at Blashford, who came back with really good ideas. We put this together almost like a little scrapbook of vision and designs and feel for the respite area for residents, which is now with the contractor, who will then come back to us with a more detailed design. But the key here is being able to be away from noise, being able to relax, but equally also being able to maybe work from that particular area, like from a business suite, with ability to join Teams meetings, etc. Site and other activities, of course, as I mentioned, it continues to the priority to get the show flat preparation, the video, the Muga clearance, and cutting back trees. So all of this is happening, well, the end of this month, this week, and next month. I now move over to an update for the 4 towers project, the Bray, Burnham, Dorney, and Taplow major works. I wrote a letter to everyone dated I think it arrived on the 4th of January, confirming the contractor appointment. So in essence, we are in contract with McLaren. with regards to this particular major work, and the decision has been based on all the reviews and detailed considerations by all involved: evaluation panel, resident procurement panel, the commercial review, and also the technical review. And as you know, I shared this with you previously, the emphasis was on quality. So 60% of all the scoring was for quality, and that includes, of course, the quality appraisal with regards to the resources of the proposed project team, the quality control elements, the methodology of work, the program, resident consideration, and social value. And of course, also the technical appraisal, making sure that everything is as per our specifications in terms of performance, quality, and designs. And we gave 40% to the commercial evaluation, which is the element with regards to the cost review and the cost offer. So with regards to the re-procurement, I think it would be fair to say that this re-procurement has been successful. We managed to de-risk the project compared to before by doing just a number of things that we learned from the previous procurement. We did market engagement before finalizing our procurement strategy and before going out to procure. We shared with the contractors quite openly the challenges, the construction challenges. We developed the designs to REBA Stage 4, which is the construction level of designs. And we procured under a traditional construction contract, which means we took a bit more risks with regards to the liabilities. Which means the result was that we had a healthy competition. We had 3 eager contractors, and we really achieved value for money with regards to the outcome. We achieved a fixed price offer of 77 million for the 4 towers, and ensuring that it is the right design, the right quality with the right specifications, and the right approach in terms of method of work and approach to the works. I thought I'd give you a brief overview what it means in terms of timelines, and you will understand, and I'll come to that. It's probably at our next session that I can share with you a much more detailed program. But I think I'll walk you through this, and you will see we're very busy with trying to do a number of things to get the basis right for the delivery of the works. So for the moment, we are in what's called the preparation phase, and that's really from as we appointed McLaren on the 31st of December, it's really from the 1st of January, we can say, until the 1st of March that we will be in this preparation phase. This means we're finalizing the program, and we are doing all the mobilization in terms of the various teams, the supply chains, etc. It means that we will be purchasing the materials for all 4 towers. It means that we need to define and detail all the processes about how the wider contracts team and contractors team and project team and advisors team work together, how we keep each other informed, how we make sure the quality controls are in place. All of these different processes need to be set up. We need to agree and devise the site setup plans, and we'll share them, of course, with the residents of each of the tower blocks. And we need to finalize the method of works, which means what happens in every single home, in a typical home. How would we approach the works? In terms of the site setup, that would be really from early March. We want to plan in, of course, resident engagement and opportunities for residents to get to know the new contractor, and of course to know the key questions to all this. What will happen when and how, and making sure all of that is pulled together in a comprehensive way, and one that we can absolutely rely on. This is why for the moment we do a number of checks, tests before we get to that point where we can absolutely confirm everything. We want to get the show flat ready. Again, here as well, we want to make sure that residents have a respite area, even from early on before the scaffolding goes up, because that in itself will create some noise, to have that space to be able to go to get away from the noise. And I think it's really important to share with you at this stage, which is something that is clear that's going to happen, is that we will be carrying out the works 2 towers at a time. This was with careful consideration about the knock-on effects for residents on the estate, but also the residents surrounding the estate. If we were to do 4 towers at the same time, there's such a volume in terms of activities, deliveries, labor on site, it would be incredibly disruptive. So we took the view it's best to go 2 towers and 2 towers. We're likely to start with Bray and Taplow towers. And then once both towers are absolutely completed, we will time it so that at the point when those 2 towers are completed, the scaffolding on Dorney Tower and Burnham Tower will be up in readiness for the team to move over to the 2 towers to then start the work there as well. The construction phase in itself, and I'm purposefully vague at this point because there are a few thoughts how things could be done simultaneously, but I will confirm in February. I do say, and it's in all honesty for the moment, that's what it looks like, summer 2022, which includes, of course, roof replacement, the installation of the building maintenance unit, the undercroft installation, the window replacement, the radiator replacement in lounge and bedroom only, where we drop the windowsill, and the cladding installation. Now, this is not to say that a little bit of work that doesn't require the scaffolding cannot happen on the 2 towers that doesn't have the scaffolding, if you see what I mean. So it's just about aligning these different activities of work and making sure there's a logic in the way that we do things, and wherever possible, we do things in tandem at the same time. A little bit more about this preparation phase for Bray, Burnham, Dorney and Taplow towers. So we are imminently ready to sign the contract. We anticipate for the contract to be signed week commencing the 31st of January, that's next week. We need to make sure that the tests result of the alignment between the windows and the cladding system are what they need to be in terms of weather tightness, that they are exactly what we expect it to be. And we want to do this before anything is being installed, of course, so that we have that confidence. We want to test the method of works. McLaren provided a quite meaningful, I would say, method of works, indeed, what happens in each home, a typical home. But we want to test this, and we want to test this in preparation of the show flat, so that we really understand how feasible it is, whether we need to have contingencies, etc., so that we can tell you after this test, yes, we know this is working, this is the approach, this is what it means in general terms for a typical home in the 4 tower blocks. We need to finalize the program. And again, that's directly linked to some of these tests. It's linked to the delivery periods for purchasing materials, etc. It is about purchasing materials. That's likely to go ahead in very early February. We want to plan the resident engagement and everything that comes with this, and I'll come to a specific slide just on this. Finalizing all the processes, as I mentioned earlier, between the teams, how we sign off and check everything that is being put in place, how we stop a flow of work if we're not happy with what has been done and it needs to be put right. All of that needs to be clearly set out, supported by key IT tools and workflows, etc. So we're devising that for the moment. And of course, getting the teams ready. The project team has been on site for quite a while. We are now getting ready to include further team members whom we will introduce to you, of course. But of course, for the contractor, for their team, this is all very new. So we need to make sure that they understand exactly what our estate is all about, and especially what matters to residents, and just getting that across, and the requirements and the consideration for residents, so that we get this really right from day one. In terms of the priorities, and particularly in terms of shaping resident engagement, as I said, it's important for us to know hand on heart the method of works is working. We've tested it and we can tell you how we do things. It is about the program, making sure we have a detailed program to tell you what happens when. And this will, of course, grow over probably over the spring as the contractor will get to know residents and understand how we can work with maybe holidays, annual leave, work and other constraints, or anything that where we can help to accommodate. I think it's fair to say as well that we're testing something whereby we can replace the windows individually and not particularly in a band or in a stack, to give more flexibility and be also more in tune and being able to work around residents' needs and residents' ability to let us into their home to carry out the works. The site setup plans, it's important that these work. Of course, we learned from last time and we embrace those lessons learned, and they have been conveyed to the contractor. But it's important to me that the new sets of plans are being shared with residents of each tower block, so you can tell us, well, no, this will not work, or yes, that's a good idea, or maybe we can add this, or whatever it might be, so that we don't inadvertently create a problem, and that we get your feedback. In terms of the show flats, this will look like the finished product in a typical home, so that residents can see what they can expect to be when the works are finished, what it will look like in each home, but also to be able to test and see the various options. We talked about the 2 options for radiators. There will be blinds and curtains in terms of options. All of that is key, that you are able to see it before you make any decisions and any choices. With regards to the video, as for our Blashford residents, it's about conveying what the level and the method of work will be in each home, and to really spell out what it means in terms of level of disruption, noise, etc. So it's about an honest overview illustration of what will happen. The resident offer, this is a wide-ranging list and offers really for residents to help during the disruption that's going on the estate, but also in individual homes, and trying to help with minimizing impact. This will come to you once we've completed it from our view in terms of the different possibilities that are available, again, to get your feedback. As I mentioned, the resident handbook, I'm very keen to have this ready in March, end of March, for all residents of the 4 towers, so that everybody can see what is going to happen, to have really like a handbook about the project in terms of program, in terms of expectations, commitments, where to go if there's an issue, where to complain, really to set out what to expect. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the respite areas. And again, we will be seeking views from residents about what might be required, what is needed, like we've done with our Blashford residents, to get input and views to make it a space that really works for residents and helps residents throughout this time. And I just thought I'd finish on my commitment to give you more detailed information as soon as I can, to give you sort of the key themes that we will be able to share with you on the 22nd of February, which is our next major works meetup at 7 o'clock. I'm convinced that by that point I can share with you the program. I should be able to share with you exactly the method of works, what it looks like in a typical home, the access method as well to the building itself. It's very likely to be scaffolding, but we need to describe to you what it means and what it looks like. The access protocol, making sure you have all the notice and all the information way ahead before anyone even knocks on your door, and what the commitment is to introduce you to the team that would be carrying out the works in your home. And engaging with the contractor, of course, when and how that will happen, we will share with you. And a little bit of a sneak preview for our March meeting. This is when I intend to share with you the resident offer, the overview of the resident handbook, the show flat update with dates when it will be ready and how to book viewings, and the respite area. And with this, I just want to say a very big thank you to everyone. I will